Welcome back, or welcome for the first time. I'm Valerie, this is The Nook. I write books, I read books, and here on this channel I am sharing parts of my creative life to inspire yours. I started filming this vlog thinking it was going to be 2 weeks of me absolutely crushing all of these goals that I had set for myself. I had a plan. I wanted to spend the last few weeks of August finishing up a bunch of smaller projects, preparing myself to start working and thinking about a novel project in the fall. I had grand ambitions for myself, and then that plan went absolutely off the rails. So that's what this video is about. Making a plan and failing with that plan, and how to bounce back from that, how to reset when life doesn't go according to your plans. Before we get into all that, I need to take us back 2 weeks when I was setting up my goals and had all the confidence in the world that I would achieve them. I am going to be doing something a little bit differently with my goals for the next 2 weeks. I have a stack of note cards and a Sharpie. Basically what I'm going to be doing is writing down all of the many various small tasks that I want to try and get done as quickly as possible before I start my next big goal. So I have been doing some soul searching and thinking about long-term goals and short-term goals and setting up my days and trying to better navigate having a full-time job with pursuing creative projects as well. One of the things that I have realized is that I have been spreading myself a little too thin. I have been trying to do too many things. And if I am wanting to give a lot of time and energy and attention to a novel in the fall, then I need to get rid of some of these other things that are not as important. So that's gonna be my goal for the next 2 weeks, is to try and get through as many of these smaller tasks that I have been kind of dabbling with all summer, trying to get them knocked off my plate so that when October comes around, I will be able to fully focus on writing and revising the second draft of my next novel. So first things first is figuring out what exactly still needs to be done, which tasks I'm gonna try and knock out as quickly as possible in the next 2 weeks. Okay, so I have a nice little stack of note cards here, and this first section are all the little things that I need to do before I start working on my novel in October. The dog is drinking water. Buddy, how good is this microphone? Does it pick up disgusting dog slobber? Jesus, buddy. And in this first stack, there's everything from articles for my newsletters to finishing up some short stories to editing some YouTube videos to prepping to submit some essays and short stories later in the fall. Basically, the idea is to start at the top and work my way down. What I kind of like about these note cards is there is room on the back for me to break out the goal into smaller pieces if I need to, or to jot down notes if it's something creative and I come up with an idea, or if I am trying to get some information about literary journals to submit to, I can put it on the back of the note card. And then this smaller stack are tasks related to the novel, like reading through the draft, organizing the draft, coming up with some new character development and plot outline stuff, getting a new, stronger outline ready before I set my goals to start writing on a daily basis on the novel. This vlog starts on August 18th. You won't be seeing it until later in September, but for me it is the end of August, and I would love to spend the last 2 weeks of August working through some of these smaller tasks so that most of September can be devoted to developing and reacquainting myself with the novel that I was working on last fall fall that I set aside in the spring and want to pick up again. I do have to say that I am still a little undecided at this point if that's the project I'm going to be working on in the fall. So some of September is going to be spent thinking of long-term goals, looking at multiple projects that are kind of half done or projects that I am wanting to start in the future, and kind of testing the waters a little bit and seeing which direction my creative heart is pulling me toward. I do think it will end up being the novel that I was working on last fall. I do think that is the one that I want to jump back into, but I'm holding off on committing to it for a little while longer. For right now, for the next 2 weeks, for the end of August, I am going to be focused on getting through as many of these smaller goals as I possibly can, trying to clear my plate for September and October when I am planning to start working on a novel project. I have been making slow progress with my little stack of goals, but it is progress all the same. I am still trying to come to terms with my feelings about how little time I have during the day to try and accomplish all these kind of little tasks that I have set out for myself. Now granted, the 2 weeks that I am working with for this vlog, the point is to try and knock out a lot of little stuff. So I think it will be kind of a frustrating 2 weeks for me because I won't really be able to see a lot of the progress that I'm making, since the tasks that I have set up to complete in the next 2 weeks are kind of all related to different things. Some of it is like sunsetting some projects that I'm no longer going to be working on. Some of it is just admin tasks that are important but not really benefiting the main goal of getting back to work on a novel. But they are important. They are things that I need to move off of my plate so that I can fix my full energy and the limited time I have onto one project, onto my novel project. So I was able to get an article written. I was able to finish editing a short story and send that to the editor who is working on the anthology that'll be coming out next year. I worked on a YouTube video, and my next kind of task, have a contract I need to sign for an anthology that's coming out this year. There are a couple more articles that I need to write. I am going to be sunsetting one of my newsletters. The Million Ways to Be a Writer newsletter will be coming to an end in September for now. There is a short story that I am halfway finished drafting. I would love to finish drafting this in the next week or two so that I can start submitting it to literary journals. I am finding that I'm spending a lot of time with YouTube videos again, and I am kind of trying to figure out how much time I actually want to spend making YouTube videos. I have a lot of fun doing them. I have been enjoying experimenting and getting to know my audience and getting to know you, the people who join me here. But to be honest, making YouTube videos is a hobby. It is for fun for me. It is not a part of my current business plan. It is not a part of my long-term future goals. I enjoy coming up with ideas, whether it's related to reading books or writing them, that help inspire other people to also develop a deep love of literature, the written word, storytelling. That is an important aspect of my life, but it is not necessarily an important aspect of my long-term goals. So what that means for me, I'm still trying to figure out. I think kind of what I need to focus on is the time that I have allowed on a weekly basis for YouTube versus trying to get a certain amount of videos done in a certain amount of time. And I'm still working through that, but basically the idea would be like, if YouTube is a hobby, how much time a week do I want to allot to my hobbies? 30 minutes to an hour a day, so maybe 3 to 7 hours a week. Does that math? I am in the process of figuring this out, but it was something that I noticed as I tried to work on this stack of goals during the weekend, was that a lot of my time and mental energy was going towards editing YouTube videos, and at the end of the day I didn't really feel fully satisfied with that. So I think I need to readjust my expectations with YouTube and what I'm doing with this channel. I I'm still going to be making videos. Enough about goals, let's talk about books. This is not the one I want. This was the one that I already talked to you about that is amazing. So just a shout out again to A Letter to the Luminous Deep. If you haven't already picked this book up, because you saw me talking about it in my last video, pick it up. It's super great. Okay, let me go find the real book that I want to talk about. These are the two books I want to talk about. I read this book for one of the book clubs that I am in. It's called Scorched Grace by Margaret Duai. I don't know, again, if I pronounce that name right or not. We chatted about this book last night and there were a lot of mixed feelings. I did not particularly like this one. I was actually very disappointed in it. I was really hoping I would love it. This had all the makings of being a book that I would really connect with and love. It involves a nun, a smoking tattooed nun who investigates an arson at the convent where she lives, and I really wanted to like it, but it just did not work for me. I found the writing, the tone of the writing to be very uneven. There was a lot of discussion of dark themes in here, some very traumatic things that have happened to a lot of the characters, but the tone didn't seem to really fit with that. It did feel more of like this kind of noirish femme fatale Sam Spade style of writing, like the Maltese Falcon style of writing, which I think was the author's intent. I think it was a hat tip into that generation, to that style of writing. But at times it just came across sounding really silly and trite and not really fully exploring the emotional depths of the characters' lives in the way that I really like with my fiction. The writing was super choppy. The mystery itself didn't really pan out. It didn't really make much sense in the end. The motives of the person. Yeah, it was just a really disappointing book for me, which is sad because I really wanted to love it, and also this cover is super fantastic. I love this cover. This is part of a series. I will not be continuing with this series. So I skimmed this book to try and get it done because I started it late on like a Sunday. But now I am moving on to A Marvelous Light by Freya Marsk, and this is for my other book club, my friend group. We don't really have a theme. We just kind of read willy-nilly, and this is the book that we are reading for this month, and I need to read this within the next couple days, and it's a bit of a big one. I don't have the audiobook yet, but this is set in London where there are people who have magic abilities and then normal people, normies like us, who do not have magical abilities, and I think their worlds are kind of separated. There seem to be some kind of spells in place that keep the average not-magical person from understanding that there is magic in the world, and there are liaisons between the two worlds. I am not very far into this book, so I cannot tell you exactly where we are headed, but one of the liaisons I believe is missing. He shows up in the very first chapter, like the prologue, and something terrible is happening, but we're dropped into the middle of the action and not really understanding what that is. I know there's magic. I know there are ministers of magic and whatnot. I know that there are political liaisons, people who help each other figure out if the magic is out of control or not. And I know there's a person missing. And that's about all I know for now about this book. This cover, beautiful one. Oh, I am not sure I'm gonna get it done in time for our meeting on Monday because this weekend I'm going to a bachelorette party, which I'm very excited about. Get to celebrate a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, and spend some time with friends in wine country, and I don't know how much reading I'm gonna be doing. So I'm trying to get the audiobook so I can listen to this while I'm like on walks and stuff, but that's my reading life for now. I'm gonna do some of that tonight, in addition to trying to knock out some of these smaller tasks that I have set for myself. Here's the thing to remember about goals. Flexibility is key. It is okay to adjust your goals based on things that are going on in your life. It is okay to set ambitious goals and then stop halfway through and decide that you can't do them in that moment, that you need to take a rest, or you need to focus on other things, or you need to just push them out, push that deadline out for a little bit. It is okay to change your mind about the goals you set. The worst thing you can do in terms of moving forward and staying productive and building a beautiful, sustainable, creative life is to beat yourself up when you don't get it perfect. Incorporating creativity into your everyday life is a practice. It's a daily practice. Yes, it requires commitment, and it requires persistence, and it requires returning to your projects again and again, even on days when you don't feel like doing it. But There is absolutely room to take breaks. There is room to adjust your expectations and adjust your timelines. I was not expecting to take as long of a break as I did, and to be fair, it was really only a week, but it was a very long week in terms of creative health, in terms of physical health, in terms of the amount of energy that I was expending at my office job. It felt a lot longer than a week, but it really wasn't. It was only a week. And I think that's something I don't always do well at in terms of taking care of my creative life and my creative health, is that if I take a much needed break, I tend to kind of beat myself up about it. And the beating myself up can make it harder to return to the projects that I want to be working on. So I really tried hard not to do that this time. I started out my 2 weeks pretty well. I was slowly moving along with my goals. They were not very exciting to me because I'm trying to knock out a bunch of like admin stuff, and so I wasn't like super invested in them, but I was kind of looking ahead, looking forward, trying to clear my plate for a bigger project that I want to start very soon. And so I really had high ambitions of checking a lot of this stuff off so that I could move into the bigger project. So I was doing pretty okay the first week, and then I took a weekend off and spent some time with friends. We were celebrating a friend's upcoming wedding and we had a great time. I returned from that trip just absolutely wiped. I was just very fatigued. I just really kind of was wiped out mentally, emotionally, not because the trip was bad. The trip was lovely. It just was a long trip. It took a lot of energy to plan. It took a lot of energy to get there. It was a long drive away. We came back Sunday night and I didn't really have any space to rest and unwind before I had to get up and go to my office job on Monday. And then it seemed like my life just would not stop. There was a lot of stuff going on in that second week. A lot of office related work, a lot of office related team building events. There were some new things that I was starting, some social stuff that I already had on the calendar. And so I found myself sleeping in rather than getting up early to work on creative projects. I found myself spending my evenings resting rather than, again, working on these tasks that I had set out for myself. And I got to the end of the week just kind of like fully realizing that I'd failed in what I had set out to achieve. But instead of kicking myself around and just being like, oh, you utter failure, look at all the stuff that you still have to do, I said, hey, you have a 3-day weekend coming up. How about you do a little reset? Take a look at what you've done and take a look at what still needs to be done, and take a look at the timeline and take a look at your calendar, see what's coming up, see where you may have time to finish up some of these smaller things and get them done so you could focus on your big novel project. So I did that. I spent this weekend resetting. And what does that mean exactly for me? It means getting back into healthy habits, including getting up early, making sure to make time for exercise, making sure to make time for other things that I enjoy, like reading and painting, spending time with people I love. It means reacquainting myself with my goals, with the tasks that I have laid out for myself, seeing if there's anything that I can get rid of, or if there's anything that I need to add on, or if there's anything that I need to get done right away because I have been avoiding it. Luckily, there were none of those. I did some decluttering and caught up on some chores. I did spend time resting and taking care of myself. And then I think the biggest part of this reset was that I decided to take one small action a day to get myself going again. That meant going to the gym for a 30-minute walk on the treadmill. That meant making a healthy meal for myself. That meant flipping through my little stack of note cards to see where I'd left off and what I still needed to do. That meant getting an article written. It meant reevaluating where I am today and where I want to be a month from now, and resetting my sights on that long-term goal. I spent this weekend checking in with myself, reassessing and recommitting to the goals that I had set up for myself 2 weeks ago. And I still have a pretty big stack of cards of things that I want to get done before I start working on my novel project. But I also have been able to finish quite a few, about half, a little less than half of the stack. So even though these 2 weeks didn't end up as productive as I thought they were gonna be, even though really only 1 week was a week that I worked on creative tasks, I was still able to move myself a little bit forward, and I think the rest was needed. I think that there are certain points where you just hit a wall and you cannot push through it. You have to wait until your energy returns. You have to wait until your body starts feeling better. You have to wait until you're excited and energized again. I do very much believe in the concept of sitting down and doing the work even when you don't feel like it. It can be tricky sometimes to tell if you're not doing something because you're procrastinating on it, or if you're not doing something because you just don't have the creative energy, or maybe it's something that you don't need to be doing. So I think it's important to have days during the month where you kind of come back, you check in, you say, am I still on target? Am I still on track to be meeting the goals that I have for myself, to be pursuing the creative things that I want to be pursuing? And again, it's okay to change tack. It's okay to decide to go a different direction. It's okay to throw out all these cards and make new ones. I did finish A Marvelous Light by Freya Marske. This is a book that takes place in a magical England, a magical London. Some of the population is magical. They have magical abilities and the rest of the population doesn't. And those two worlds are kind of separated, and the people who don't do magic don't always know that there is magic going on around them. This is a historical fantasy. It's set in the past. It follows two gentlemen whose lives intersect. One is magical, one is not. Because of a series of fateful events, they are brought together. And we are taken on this journey with them while the man who is magic introduces the man who is not magic to his world. There are some high stakes at play here. There's a missing man. There are secret romances happening. There is danger lurking around every corner. The prologue was a little bit off-putting in tone to the rest of the book. The prologue starts off with kind of a violent scene. I almost didn't want to keep going, but I did and was happy with the end result. But compared to the rest of the book, the prologue is a lot darker. The book is actually quite cozy in places. There are romps through the English countryside. There are mansions with magical elements to them. There is a romance blooming between our two main characters. There is queerness and friendship and a magical hedge maze. This is the first book in a series. I believe there are 3 books, and I loved this book so much that I bought the second one in the series. I don't have it quite yet. I need to run to the bookstore and get that. I don't think I'm gonna do that in time to show you on the vlog, but that second book is called A Restless Truth and features some of the characters that we met in A Marvelous Light. I guess my main takeaway, the thing that I really want to leave you with, the thing that I want you to think about as you move forward with your own creative goals and your own creative practice, is that it is okay to take breaks. It is okay to have weeks that are less productive. It's okay to have weeks that are more productive. You do not have to get this perfect. Embrace the imperfectionism of it. Embrace the rhythms that you already have, the natural energy rhythms that you have. Be okay shifting focus if you need to. For me, August, especially the end of August, the last week of August, is usually just a week that nothing happens. I just don't want to do anything. And I think that's something that I've just come to accept. The end of August and the end of December are just 2 periods of time where my focus shifts from creative projects and productivity and setting goals and achieving goals, and it shifts into taking care of myself. It shifts into laziness, which is totally okay. It's okay to get a little lazy every once in a while. The focus shifts if I need to take care of my health or take care of my family, or maybe things just get busy at work. It's okay to not always be go, 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 checking off the boxes on your to-do list. Yes, I know that we all have big goals and big plans and big dreams, and we want to be working towards those. We want to be moving in that direction. We don't want to come to a complete grinding halt. So we do need to come back after we take our breaks. We do need to continue to carve out space and carve out time and protect our energy so that we can work on our creative projects. But you'll know when it's time to do that. You will know when your focus and your energies are shifting back to your creative life. And when that happens, take a day or two, do a little reset, do some self-care, declutter your office, make a healthy meal for yourself, move your body, reset your intentions, and then do one small thing to move you in the direction of your big goal. That's it for me for now. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it made you feel a little less alone and inspired you to reset your goals, recommit, and get ready for the fall when we're absolutely just gonna crush it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.